Welcome to the Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019 Frankfort Village Board meeting. We call this meeting to order and we ask our clerk, Jean Savaria, to take the roll, please.
Mayor Holland.
Here.
Trustee Borelli.
Here.
Trustee Clavio.
Here.
Trustee Farina.
Here.
Trustee Ogle.
Here.
Trustee Petro and Trevarthen are absent. Attorney Mahoney.
Here.
Attorney Lamore is absent. Chief Barica. Admin Pisha.
Present.
Assistant Admin Cook.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, it's 7:45 p.m. This meeting normally starts at 7 p.m., and we certainly want to apologize to anyone who is trying to watch this meeting live on streaming on the internet or on the local access television channel. But we were at a committee of the whole meeting, and it went a little longer than we had expected. So that's what happened this evening. And state law allows us to start meetings late here in Illinois. You just can't start them early. So that's kind of an interesting law, too. Can't start a meeting early, but you sure can start late. So here we are practicing that law. And the next item on our is our unanimous consent agenda. All items on the unanimous consent agenda are considered routine in nature and will be voted on after a single motion. If any of the trustees want to discuss any of these items in more detail, we'll just remove that item from the consent agenda. So I first ask, do any trustees want to remove any items from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Oh, great, we got a second. We have a motion from Trustee Ogle and a second from Trustee Borelli to approve the consent agenda. We do want the people here in our audience, in the boardroom tonight, and the audience that's on the TV and the internet to know something about the items we're going to pass, so we will briefly discuss each one of them. The first item is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting of August 19th. The second item is the approval of the bills. And we'll go to Trustee Borelli, who is the chairperson of our Finance Committee, for a report on interesting expenditures on this month's bills.
Thank you, Mayor. The bills tonight total $2,159,932.60. So those are substantial. So let me go through them a little bit. First, we have a couple payouts on our wastewater treatment plan expansion. So there's the first one is to the William Brothers for Phase 6, $690,335.60. And that's, again, the Williams Brothers Phase 6, which they're working on the regional wastewater treatment plant improvements. And then the second one is to J.J. Henderson. They're working on Phase 7, which is the final stage of the project, the demo of the north and west plant. And that one's in the amount of $208,122.60. Also, we're making our first payment on our second IEPA loan, which we use to finance this project. And that one, we make semi-annual payments to IEPA on these loans to service the debt. That payment tonight is $865,706.25. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Adam. And then we have two items on our Plan Commission, and we have a liaison to the Plan Commission, Trustee Clavio. He's going to tell us about both of them, and one of them certainly is an exciting project indeed. So, John, go ahead.
I'm hoping you mean the first one, right? Is exciting?
Yes, the first one's exciting. The other one is not.
Mr. Mayor, there's two items before us tonight. The first one, the exciting one, is Cedarhurst Senior Living, which is on Lot 8 of Prairie Crossing subdivision. Even though it's just the first item, there are four items that go along with that, and that is a special use permit, first for the assisted living facility, which will be the first assisted living facility in Frankfort. Second, a special use permit for a planned unit development. Third, a special use permit for accessory liquor sales because they do provide liquor there, not to the public, but to their residents. And then fourth, a Cedarhurst of Frankfort subdivision final plat approval for their development plan. As far as history, Mr. Mayor, the applicant, Dover Development, proposes to construct a 72,930 square foot, 83-unit assisted living facility on a plus or minus 14 acre located at Lot 8 of Prairie Crossing subdivision, which happens to be behind Coles on Wolf Road. To accommodate the proposed development, the applicant requests approval of the special use permits for the planned unit development, assisted living facility in the B4 zoning district, and accessory liquor sales, as well as approval of the final plat of subdivision. At the August 22nd public hearing on the project, the Plan Commission reviewed the site, architectural, landscaping, photometric, signage, and lighting plans for the project, and discussed several conditions for its approval. To comply with one of the conditions, the applicant has since revised the architectural elevations to limit the composite shake-style siding to the gable ends at the northwest corner of the building. With that change, the commissioners forwarded a unanimous 5-0 recommendation to the village board to approve the special use request for the planned unit development, assisted living facility with conditions, and accessory liquor sales and final plat. So before us tonight on that one, Mr. Mayor, is to accept the Plan Commission recommendation, waive the first and second readings, and pass an ordinance granting a special use permit for an assisted living facility in the B4 zoning district to permit the operation of Cedarhurst Senior Living on Lot 8 of the Prairie Crossing subdivision in accordance with the reviewed plans and public testimony and conditioned upon final engineering approval of a cross-access easement for the property owner to the north, and the construction of a left turn lane for southbound traffic on Wolf Road. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's one sentence. The other motion before us is to accept the Plan Commission recommendation, waive the first and second readings, and pass an ordinance approving a special use permit for a planned unit development to permit the operation of Cedarhurst Senior Living on Lot 8 of Prairie Crossing subdivision in accordance with reviewed plans and public testimony, and conditioned upon final engineering approval of the cross-access easement from the property owner to the north, and the construction of a left turn lane for southbound traffic on Wolf Road. The third one is to accept the Plan Commission recommendation, waive the first and second readings, and pass an ordinance granting a special use permit for accessory liquor sales to permit the operation of Cedarhurst Senior Living on Lot 8 of the Prairie Crossing subdivision in accordance with reviewed plans and public testimony. And the final is to accept the Plan Commission recommendation and approve the final plat for the Cedarhurst of Frankfort subdivision, Lot 8 in Prairie Crossing, prepared by H.R. Green, dated June 18th, 2019, in accordance with the reviewed plans. That's the exciting one. The second one is for Freddy's Frozen Custard. This is more or less a cleanup matter because during some work out there, Freddy's was digging, or we were digging, and we came across a storm sewer that was not located on any public access rights. So to clean it up, at the August 22nd public hearing, the Plan Commission forwarded a unanimous 5-0 recommendation to the village board to approve the plat of easement and abrogation for Freddy's Frozen Custard and Steak Burgers. So before us tonight, Mr. Mayor, is a motion to accept the Plan Commission recommendation and approve the plat of easement and plat of abrogation for Freddy's Frozen Custard and Steak Burgers located at 9701 West Lincoln Highway, prepared by Compass Surveying, latest revision date July 19, 2019, in accordance with reviewed plans. That's all I have.
Thank you, John. And now we have one item from the Land Use and Policy Committee, and we'll go to Trustee Ogle, the chair of the Land Use and Policy Committee, for that report.
Thank you, Mayor Holland. At the August 14th meeting of the Land Use and Policy Committee, we discussed the creation of a Class O liquor license classification to accommodate the proposed operation of Cedarhurst Senior Living. To explain a little bit about that, because people do tend to be rather sensitive about the liquor licenses and what goes on here. The Class O is for congregate elderly housing. That's how we're classifying that. And that Class O license is the sale of alcoholic liquor for consumption on the premises of an actively operating congregate elderly housing facility. It also has to offer food during the hours. It offers alcoholic liquor for consumption, and the sales of alcoholic liquor by the Class O licensees shall be only to the residents of the facility and their guests only. They're not allowed to advertise or promote themselves as containing a pub, bar, or tavern, and shall not be permitted to have any exterior signage related in any way to the sale of alcoholic liquors. So the congregate elderly housing ordinance here. The motion is to accept the recommendation of the Land Use and Policy Committee, waive the first and second readings, and pass an ordinance amending the Village of Frankfort's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 113, intoxicating liquor, to reflect the creation of a Class O liquor license classification. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Keith. And those are all of the items on the consent agenda this evening. And before we vote on those, is there anyone in the audience who wanted to make a comment to the village board about any of these items? And certainly if you'd like to get up and say something about Cedarhurst and where we're going here, we'd be delighted to have you say a few words.
My name's Tina Charleville. I'm with Dover Development. I represent Cedarhurst Senior Living. Just want to thank everybody at the village for working with us on this. We're very excited for the project and just ready to get going. So thank you very much.
That's great. So your plans are to start construction as soon as you can?
As soon as possible. The permits with the village for review, we're closing on the land on the 6th, and as soon as we get our approvals, we're going to start moving dirt.
And I think our audience should know this property is located on Wolf Road between the old Plank Road Trail and where the Kohl's Shopping Center is. I think most people would recognize that. There's a nice-sized piece of property there. And how many units will there be?
There will be 83 in total, so it's going to be 56 assisted living and 27 memory care apartments.
And this is it's a single floor.
Yes, it is. It's
right?
one story.
Yeah.
Which
So that's a little different than the neighbor across the street.
Yes, than the neighbor across the street. We do find that our residents prefer the one story just for ease of getting to and from their apartments, and the layout works well for us.
Great. Well, we're looking forward to it.
All right, thank you very
Well,
much.
we'll find out anyway. We're going to vote in a moment.
Exactly.
Anyone else? Very well. Comments, questions from the trustees?
I just wanted to make a comment. I understand it's been a long process, and I want to acknowledge staff. They've worked hard on this. The Plan Commission did their due diligence in the workshops and their planning meetings. I know from experience how hard that could be, and I understand the applicant was very amenable to what we were doing. You know, I've gone back and forth whether or not to vote in favor of this. While I do believe we need a memory care facility in the Southland, I think that's a good addition for our community. I do have concerns that I've voiced with staff and my colleagues about the specific location. I would have liked to see more of an independent care or, you know, townhomes perhaps targeting seniors who are active. It's adjacent to a bike path, walking path. It's right behind retail that's in trouble. We know that Kohl's, Famous Footwear, Bed Bath & Beyond have all closed shops throughout the United States this past year, as well as Penny's and Party City. So I would have liked to seen a community or townhome development where you would have more residents to go and shop at these area retail establishments. I also, when I look at Panera, there are 4 vacancies in that building now. The Sports Authority has been vacant for 5 years, and there are 2 vacancies within the Chipotle building as well. So I think having development there with more mobile residents would have been better for that local economy. It also is situated between 2 grammar schools, Grand Prairie to the east, as well as Hickory Creek to the west, and it could have been very attractive to millennials and young families with the ease of getting to and from school. It's also a nice 10-minute ride to the metro station, so anyone working downtown could have an ease and flow of commuting. So I share these comments because I think these are things we need to look at as a village board when we're looking at various lands. We need to work with our landowners and being proactive with economic development and what's the right spot for various facilities. So I'll vote in favor, but I did want to share this because I know overall it will be good for our community, but I'm hopeful in the future we consider locations. I should also acknowledge the Frankfort Fire Protection District. They do already make calls daily to the Clarendale as well as to Green Garden from the station that's on Wolf Road. This will be a burden on them, and if it was, say, 83 units that had a property tax bill, that would at least pay the Frankfort Fire Protection District so they can increase their staff at that station and cover that. So this will be an additional burden to our Fire Protection District, and those are items that I think we need to also consider when we are moving forward with major developments and such. But in a wrap-up, I will vote in favor of it, but in the future, I hope we can work together on some of these various items in our community.
Thank you, Margaret. Anyone else? Then we'll go to our clerk, Jean Savaria, for the vote.
Trustee Ogle.
Yes.
Trustee Borelli.
Yes.
Trustee Clavio.
Yes.
Trustee Farina.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item on our agenda is called the Mayor's Report, and the first item on the Mayor's Report is Frankfort Fall Fest 2019. Well, I certainly had a very nice time all weekend long. It's just great to have an outdoor festival when the weather's good. They certainly work better than when the weather's bad. But I credit all of the volunteers once again with the wonderful job that they did putting on this festival. There aren't that many festivals that are run by volunteers anymore of this kind of festival. Many are professional staff is hired and the professionals put it on. So I congratulate our Chamber of Commerce. I congratulate all the volunteers. I have to congratulate all of the trustees in on our village board who volunteer at Fall Fest and help make it work, and certainly a number of our staff members too. Our Public Works Department has done a great job cleaning up after the fest and certainly helping the chamber set up before the fest. The fire district takes a big part in the festival, and they're out there helping the people. Get that many people together in one place and you're going to have some problems, and they take care of them promptly. And they also operate the carnival, which with the special needs night has become an important part of the carnival, and the carnival operators are great with all these kids who have lots of special needs, and they know how to work with them, and it's wonderful and it's fun to see. So congratulations to all. To my knowledge, there weren't any substantive police issues, a few towed cars, but we'll probably hear about some of that from our police chief. The transition between the daytime tent, the nighttime tent certainly went better this year, and I think there's still some more things we can do there to make it better yet. But the craft show itself, the artisan vendors, they seem to be happy. The people who attended the festival seemed to be happy with the whole thing, and certainly I was. I had a great time, and I hope other people did too. The next item on the mayor's report is Lincoln Way High School District 210 Foundation. Well, we have a proclamation for the what do we call it? The Foundation of Excellence, I think. The Lincoln Way High School Educational Foundation of Excellence. I sort of get it right, but Bob will help us with that in just a moment. But I think I'll start by asking for a motion to approve a proclamation honoring Lincoln Way High School District 210 Foundation on their 25th year anniversary.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, that's great. Now we can talk about this thing. Bob, I'll come down there, and if you will join me, we have Bob Kennedy with us, who is very well known to our community and our board, a former trustee, and he is now the, what do you call yourself? The executive director of the Lincoln Way, let's see, District 210 Foundation for Educational Excellence. There we go. I'll get it right off this. And I'll just say a few words about the what the proclamation says, so that our viewers and listeners online and on the TV will know something about what we're talking about. And it basically says, whereas the Lincoln Way High School District 210 Foundation was incorporated in September of 1994 for the purpose to generate funds to enrich and enhance opportunities and education experiences for Lincoln Way High School District 210 students. Whereas Lincoln Way High School District 210 currently serves 6,800 students at 3 campuses, and the Lincoln Way High School District 210 Foundation has donated over $4.4 million to District 210, thanks to the generous support of businesses, individuals, and alumni. Whereas from inception, the Lincoln Way High School District 210 Foundation has been comprised of volunteer board of directors from throughout the district, and it goes on a bit. Anyway, it says, now therefore, we, the mayor and the trustees, along with the good people of the Frankfort community, extend their congratulations and best wishes to Lincoln Way High School District 210 Foundation on its 25th anniversary and applaud its excellence in education, of course. So there you go.
Thank you, Jim.
That's what we're trying to do. So, Bob, if you'd care to say a few words,
If you don't
go
mind.
ahead.
Thanks,
Thank
Mayor,
you.
I appreciate it. Mayor Holland, trustees, elected officials, staff, and Frankfort residents, on behalf of myself and my 16-person volunteer board, we thank each of you for taking the time to publicly acknowledge the Lincoln Way Foundation on our 25th anniversary. And through the generous support of local businesses, parents, individuals, all who believe in our mission, we can now continue to donate our funds for scholarships, technological upgrades, and other special uses that make the overall student experiences at Lincoln Way second to none. And in 2018, all the way through 2019 to date, we've donated $36,000 to Lincoln Way families for scholarships. We've also donated $7,500 to the Lincoln Way Marching Band, allowing them to get cases to go to the Rose Bowl and now the Thanksgiving Day Parade for Macy's. We've also donated $43,740 towards classroom upgrades for 7 different disciplines at all 3 Lincoln Way high schools. And this year, in the fall, if not winter, we're going to make approximately another $50,000 donation to get more classroom enhancements. So the foundation, so everybody should know, is a 501c3 non-for-profit entity with audited annual financial statements. And we raise money through 8 different campaigns, including our partner program and luncheon, our Summerfest, planned giving, our Sense for Kids 210, our dinner gala, and I've left each of you a little save the date card because our dinner gala is on February 8th of 2020. Kind of funny to start saving dates in 2020. Our school calendars that are for sale right now, as well as our upcoming half marathon and 10K. So please note that these calendars are available for sale at all 3 of the high schools, and obviously Lincoln Way East, I brought a little prop, looks like this. It's got a lot of great information in it, as well as business coupons, contact information for the schools. So if your child is in the high school, it's a little bit of a Bible that a lot of parents rely on, and we appreciate their support in buying those calendars. For our half marathon that's coming up, everybody might see on some of the corners our A-frame signs that are only going to be up for about another 10 days. Thanks to the village staff for expediting the permit. That went very smoothly. But we have a half marathon 10K that's going to be right in downtown, beautiful downtown Frankfort. So if you'd like to volunteer for it, maybe would you like to run, maybe you'd like to cheer on some of the runners, etc., you can go to www.lincolnwayhalfmarathon.com, or you can call me at 815-462-2976, again, to get more information on the half marathon or any other foundation program. But remember, Lincoln Way high schools are all rated exemplary by the state of Illinois, with all 3 in the top 4 SAT scorings in Will County. They're ranked the #1 school district in Will County and the top 3 schools in Will County overall, and Lincoln Way East is #1 for best high schools for athletes in Illinois. Plus, I'm sure many of you have seen that recently the district received a bond upgrade in their finances to boot. So again, the foundation thanks everyone involved in the educational process, their collective efforts in achieving these type of milestones. We're very proud of the fundraising we've done over the last 25 years. We're extremely honored to receive this proclamation, Mayor Holland. Thank you so much. Elected officials, Mayor Holland, thank you for your leadership, your acknowledgement, and your public service. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Next item on our agenda is the 11th Annual Men Who Cook fundraiser. That's coming up, must be this Saturday evening. And we have with us Frankfort resident Ken Gray, who works for the state's attorney's office. He's the number 2 person, right, along with Jim Glasgow.
Yes, Mayor.
So we certainly appreciate your attendance here, Ken, and I know you want to say a few things about the event. But just to start, it goes from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the evening, and it's over at the Chicagoland Speedway. So that's an interesting place to go sample some foods. And I
Yes,
know
Mayor.
a couple of our people from our police department will be cooking and serving food there. So we're excited about that, and people vote for their favorite food, and hopefully Frankfort residents might give our police department a little extra edge on the voting process. But this is a serious fundraiser for the Children's Advocacy Center, and I hope, Ken, you'll say a few words about the kind of work that the Children's Advocacy Center does. And in that work, I want our residents to keep in mind this isn't some agency that does work for other communities and not our community. We've had a number of incidents in recent years where the Children's Advocacy Center has been working with families in the village of Frankfort on issues that have come up. So Ken can describe that more accurately than I can, what goes on there. But just for full disclosure, people should know that I'm on the board of directors for the Children's Advocacy Center and have been for some time, and this is our biggest fundraiser.
It is.
That's what it is. But please, Ken, tell
Mayor,
us some
thank you
more.
very much for your time and for allowing me to come up and visit with you all. I love the village of Frankfort, as you may know, and raised here all my life. Very proud to call it home. And the Fall Fest is one of those many things that Frankfort does that just makes me very proud, as well as all the other residents. I want to point out, too, I saw John Barica several times over the weekend at Fall Fest, and his men and women, and fantastic, just fantastic. You have a wonderful police department. You're absolutely right, Mayor. They have been very active in Men Who Cook. And in fact, I'll have to turn to John here, but they won at least twice with their brisket, if I remember, John, have you not?
We had 2 first place, 1
Right.
second place for food, and 1 first place for display.
Right, right. Fantastic. And I don't know if you tried the brisket, Mayor, when you were there, but it was
Definitely.
It was incredible. And I understand now it's not brisket, it's going to be chili.
Chili is coming on now, changing it up.
Wonderful. Well, for those who don't know what Men Who Cook is, I appreciate this time to talk to you about it. Men Who Cook is where there are 45 to 50 men who make their favorite recipes. And it can be entrees, it can be desserts, it can be appetizers, any number of things. And you have the opportunity to go on and eat all 50 of those entrees or whatever if you want to, and it's just amazing. I've only gone through about 15, and I can usually handle pretty many things, but it's amazing the amount of food that's served there that night. And it's all for a very good cause. And I do want to thank Mayor Holland. He's been a very active member of our board, very valuable for us to get his input on a number of issues, and we greatly appreciate his active participation with our Children's Advocacy Center board. So a lot of people, though, may not know what a Children's Advocacy Center is. And it's not an easy topic to discuss, certainly in public, but it's something that does need to be discussed in public. Before the creation of the Children's Advocacy Center in 1995 by our State Attorney Jim Glasgow, when there were crimes, especially very intimate crimes that occurred against children, they were very hard to prove. And you can imagine why, because the police officers who may go out and investigate that crime when it first comes in have to interview the child. What happened? Well, they're not really trained, even now, to interview a child of 4, 5, 6 years old in a how do you put it, a forensic manner. So the law and the conviction rate actually back then was only about 35% on those cases, and that's just not acceptable. It's horrific. It's increased dramatically since the creation of the Children's Advocacy Center. And so what it does, it was set up to have forensically trained interviewers that would interview children who've been abused in a very non-threatening, neutral manner. So they'd come in with the police many times or with DCFS many times, and they would be interviewed by our interviewers on video and audio one time. Before that, the patrol officer would interview the child, and then the detective sergeant may go out the next day or the day after, whatever, interview the child. The nurses would be interviewing the doctors, other people, and we're adults. And how would you like to be interviewed 5 or 6 times over the same issue? You think you remember everything perfectly? Well, that would kind of make it easier for a defense counsel to get off. So we interview them one time, and that's it. And in cooperation with that one interview, we have a multidisciplinary team made up of an assistant state's attorney, very experienced, the detective, DCFS, there's a therapist involved, and there's family counselors involved that are in this group in another room. So the child can't see them, but they can communicate with our interviewer electronically. And it's proved very, very effective, and the conviction rates, in the end of the day, have risen dramatically, way up, 80s, 90s. So it's been incredibly effective. But on top of that, the Children's Advocacy Center, I'm sorry to be taking more time here, but it's very important. We not only just do the interviews, but we also seek counseling for the child and for the non-violating family members to help them get through this very difficult time. We also have a doctor that will do a physical examination of the children and any follow-ups that are necessary there. So just imagine that for a second. So this horrible thing happens. Not only do we prosecute the case, if we can, but we take care of the child and the family members. So it's really grown. Mayor, you've seen how it's grown in the past many years here, and it's very, very impressive, and I really enjoy working with the Child Ad Center. But we only have one fundraiser, and this is it. It's coming this Saturday. It runs between, if I don't screw this up on my phone, runs between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m., and it's at the Chicagoland Speedway. And if you haven't been there, in the infield, it's a lot of fun. It's really pretty cool. When we were there last year, there was actually a race going on. And those cars are pretty loud, but they finished, and we had a wonderful time. The cost is $40 a person, $75 for a couple, and kids 6 to 12 are $10, and 5 and under, of course, are free. You can find out more information about it on menwhocook.info, menwhocook.info. I can tell you it's well worth the money. It's a marvelous time. There's we have a lot of people there, but it's just a lot of fun. And it's for a wonderful, wonderful cause. I'd encourage you to come out. I'd ask you to come out and visit with all of us and just have a good evening for the benefit of the kids. And I can't wait to try your chili, John. Really looking forward to that. I know you have some competition in that area, though.
We do.
There's several chilies, so it better be way up there.
We'll get it there.
I'm sure you will. So any questions on anything I've talked about? Did I miss anything, Mayor?
No, but while it's called Men Who Cook,
Right.
certainly every year Larry Walsh's wife makes candy.
Right.
There are women involved.
Little fudging there, here and there, and we certainly enjoy that assistance. So, and I wouldn't doubt that there may be some wives or whatever, friends behind the scenes helping them cook as well, some of them. But it's wonderful food. That's all I can tell you. I'm not going to be, doing interviews of the men of who's cooking it, but it's great. It's great. So thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you out there.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you again, Mayor. Thank you.
Next item is hydrant flushing. That begins September 9th, and you can find out exactly where at villageoffrankfort.com under live/village services, and the signs will go up in the neighborhoods where the flushing will take place. Reserve the date, Senior Breakfast and Triad Health Expo slated for September 18th. This is the annual senior breakfast, which we haven't had for about 3 years. So how do you call it, the annual senior breakfast? But we did have one for a number of years, and then frankly, we just didn't for a while. I'll put it that way. It's at 8 in the morning, and we expect it to last about an hour. It's open to residents 65 and older, and it'll be complimentary, catered by White Street Cafe, and both the police chief and the mayor will provide some updates about services in the community for seniors. And on the same day, the Triad organization has their Senior Expo and Flu Shot Clinic. So let's see, these are on Wednesday, September 18th, and the flu shot program is 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock at Founders Center. That's the Park District building in downtown Frankfort. The Old Plank Road Trail 5K Run and Walk is scheduled for October 5th. This is a very popular event, and you can register on the village website, villageoffrankfort.com. And finally, Country Market continues through October 27th. The fall market goes into effect on September 8th, so the hours change slightly, goes from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So the booths shut down an hour early. And that concludes the mayor's report. So we'll now go over and hear from John Barica, our police chief, about the police department report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to follow up with what Ken said about the Child Advocacy Center and what a great asset it is to the community and to the police department. They do a fantastic job with their interviews and their expertise on that, and unfortunately we do have to use them from time to time, but it's a great fundraiser, way to help support them. So that's why we go out and do that, and we hope we can get a lot of people out there to allow them to raise some good money for the Child Advocacy Center. As you had said, the Fall Fest from a police standpoint went very well. Nothing major went on with just issues from the police department side. We did tow a few cars. We always remind people to look for those signs. We put them everywhere, but sometimes they forget. But otherwise, as far as criminal matters, we had no issues from our side. Another class we have coming up is a Matter of Balance class. This is also designed for the seniors, which I will mention at the breakfast, but it will probably be full. It is limited in size, and if you are interested, it will start on September 20th, and they will meet every Friday for 8 weeks. And again, this is designed for seniors who are having trouble getting around or looking for tips on getting better balance. They do some exercises and give you some strategies for that. So if you want to register, just call the police department at 815-469-9435, or you can email us at admin@frankfortpolice.net. Also want to let people know we put out on Facebook today about phone scams. It seems like over the weekend a lot of people got hit with the Social Security phone scam where they're calling in, telling them your Social Security card was going to be shut off or you couldn't use it anymore. I don't think most people use their Social Security cards, but if you ever get those, obviously don't call back to the number they leave. Call back to a main number you find either online, or if you have a question, call the police department. We can help you out with that. But a couple residents had contacted about us, and I actually received 3 of the phone calls myself. So we put it out on Facebook. And of course, as always, please lock your cars. Do not leave your keys or key fobs in your car, and put your garage doors down when you go to bed every night. That's all I have.
Thank you, John. And now for the village administrator's report, we go to our village administrator, Rob Pisha.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First and foremost, want to congratulate everybody on a successful Fall Festival. As you stated, that this festival is a true partnership with the village, the elected officials, and the Chamber of Commerce, the village staff, the police department, public works. It really cannot be done without everybody's support, and I just want to compliment everybody because, again, it's amazing to pull off the feat where you have so many people come to town and you hear nothing but compliments. So, again, just want to say congratulations to everybody on a successful Fall Festival. Also just want to remind residents that our street resurfacing is underway now. The program, we did get Colorado done before, but the other streets that are listed, we did send out a press release on that, but one of the major ones is Elsner Road is now being redone, so I would suggest people, you may want to find an alternate route that will cause some some delays, so you can avoid it by going in different directions. But that should go on probably for the next week or so, depending on weather. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. And now for the village attorney's report, we go to our village attorney, George Mahoney.
Mayor, I have no report for you tonight.
Oh, thank you, George. That brings us to the part of our meeting we call Other Business, and this evening we'll start with our clerk, Jean Savaria.
Not much. I'd just like to congratulate the Frankfort, or the Lincoln Way Foundation on 25 years as being someone who had 3 kids go through Lincoln Way. We really appreciate the work you do.
Thank you, Jean. Trustee Clavio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple highlights for the police department. Congratulations. I see that we're fully staffed. That's good news. That's good for our citizens as well. We haven't been that way in a long time, so hopefully we have retention and we'll get them out of the school and we'll be ready to go with some new programs that we're talking about. As far as the police department, the other thing I wanted to highlight is they tested this year at Fall Fest some new barricades, which the reason to highlight it is because unfortunately in a world we live in with crazy people out there doing crazy things at festivals, airports, whatever, it's fantastic to live in a village that's proactive versus reactive. The comments heard out at the fest about these from the citizens, from the patrons, from the artisans, from everyone was just absolutely phenomenal. And they're not the prettiest things in the world, but they're intended for a purpose, and that purpose is people were very, very comfortable with the fact that they were there. And thank God we didn't need them, and thank God we don't need them, but good to see we're proactive. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, John. Trustee Farina.
Thank you, Mayor Holland. Congratulations, Bob Kennedy and Lincoln Way Foundation. I had the opportunity to go to your gala last year. I encourage any viewers to look in your website and attend and support our local high school and students. I also want to congratulate Julie Cantrell on a successful Fall Fest. Congratulate Trustee Clavio for his upcoming role as chair, and co-chair Steve Langdon. It's a lot of work. I want to also acknowledge our Public Works Department and our Police Department for doing a spectacular job. I did feel a heavy police presence, respectfully. I saw your force out there walking around, talking to folks, talking to children, as well as our fire department, and we're out there. So I appreciate that. And I do want to welcome new police officers Jessica and Kevin, Michael Giovanni and Joshua Maxwell to the force and to Frankfort. Much success to you. And that is my report for this evening.
Thank you, Margaret. You're done, right?
I'm done.
Okay. Trustee Ogle.
Thank you, Mayor. At this late hour, I will keep this very brief since we've been here for a long time here. Again, congratulations to the Lincoln Way 210 Foundation. You guys do a great job. Love going to the gala every year, and just what you've done, Bob, and those who've preceded you. Fall Fest, just real quick wrap up with that. Did a tremendous job. The partnership between the village and some of the other key strategic partners, the Chamber of Commerce, all the volunteers. The village does put a lot of resources, financial and people, assets into this festival to make sure that our guests here have a wonderful experience when they come to Frankfort. I was introduced to a couple that came last year to Fall Fest, fell in love with the town, and they moved into Settlers Pond. Settlers Pond. And then Ken Gray has already exited the building, but last year our nephew was getting married, so Kim and I, that was one of the few years that we actually missed the Men Who Cook. It's a great event. It's a fantastic organization. I'd highly recommend that you go. There'll be more food than you could possibly eat or sample, and it's just a really great night, too. So, Mayor, that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Keith. And Trustee Borelli.
Thank you, Mayor. Maura, how much time do you need? 5 minutes? I could give you 5 minutes, okay. All right, let's start with Bob. Congrats on 25 years, and looking forward to the half marathon. Thanks for Ken Gray coming out. We did go to the Men Who Cook last year. It was a great event. Looking forward to it again this year. And it's for obviously a great cause. Special thanks to police. Every year I go up there probably 10 or 12 times during the weekend, and I never not see Deputy Chief Dowding. I don't think he sleeps that whole weekend. So special thanks to all the police and Public Works, of course, for making this happen. Congrats to Julie Cantrell, this year's co-chair Trustee Clavio, and next year's chair, and next year's co-chair Steve Langdon, and also our previous guest from our last meeting, Tom and Teresa Cara, for being named Grand Marshal of next year's parade, and also congratulations to them on their proposal, and looking forward to seeing that go forward. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Adam. And that brings us to the part of our meeting we call public comments. Is there anyone who'd like to make a comment to the village tonight? Bob?
Real quick, Mayor, just a Fall Fest related couple comments. I just want to first congratulate everybody that was involved in Fall Fest. It was one of the best weather-related fests and best attended and best vibes that I've felt in many, many years. Just two quick comments. First, I want to thank my lovely wife, Erin. She was the beauty on Ash Street while I was more of the beast. I apologize for being frazzled and a little bit worn. That happens to all the volunteers by the fourth day of everything. But we really had a great time out on Ash Street. But the second biggest highlight was the village clerk and I taking on the former village clerk and the mayor in a game of beanbags, and we were down 18-19, and we ended up coming back in the last throws and beat them. So I just want to congratulate the current village clerk for his fantastic game of beanbags. I couldn't have done it without you.
I didn't want to bring up the fact I beat the mayor. So.
I'm sorry. Well, that's fine. I can. I'm on this side. I can bring that up. But again, thank you, Mayor, for your leadership with Fall Fest in the village. It's a fantastic thing that makes our town shine. And lastly, John Clavio, thanks again for last night, reminding me that it's a wonderful place and a wonderful life to live in Frankfort. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else? Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned.